the end of Season 7 in the horizon, and everyone and their mama is talking about the new Yusang that dropped that isn't very good, according to them. But that's besides the point. In this video, I'm going to be ranking every single Season 7 ID that dropped, excluding the Walpurgis IDs because you can't really get them now, but without further ado, let's go. Alright, we're going to go in chronological order from when the IDs released. And first off, we have Index POW. And honestly, although not bad per se, this unit has been overshadowed by a lot of the characters that releases this season just because she doesn't really have an identity in a team. She feels more like a poise character with cosmetic syncing rather than just like a syncing character. So it's inadvisable to put her on a syncing team because you lose that on Butler Faust's skill 3 of Echoes of Manor, unless you're running Butler Otis. He eats up count pretty hard, so I wouldn't advise that. And overall, she's just a very mid ID in a season full of very powerful ones. That's why she's in C tier. Alright, next up we have Ujat Otis. I'm gonna put Ujat Otis in A tier. Now let me explain why. Although Ujat Otis isn't count neutral, with the use of her skill 3 you can get something called Blue Sand or unique status effect. On top of that, she has some pretty good tanking and some pretty good utility for the team. And overall, she's just a very good unit. That's why she's an A tier. Alright, after that, we have Index Dawn. I'm going to be putting her high A tier, in front of Otis. Although similar to the other Index characters, they have cosmetic syncing, which you really don't want to run them with a syncing team. However, is her absurd damage. Having easy access to her unlock states and able to have 8 coin power on her enhanced skill 3 is insane. Her high rolling and extreme damage is just so good. It makes her one of the best apprentices in my opinion. Next we have Pinky Claire. And honestly, I think he's just like Dawn, similar enough. Dawn has slightly better rolls with her max conditionals, so I'm going to put her ahead of Renclair for now. And I think she has better damage too, as well as syncing being a better status effect majority of the time than Bleed. But her status, both of their status afflictions is kind of negligible because they're both basically poise units. Now what's good about Renclair is his poise conditionals are pretty easy to fulfill because he gets so much of it, and his skill 3 just rolls very high in general. It makes him an overall really good unit. I recommend running him on a poise setup or a bleed setup if you're interested with that. Even though he doesn't inflict too much, the nice 2 bleed count on his skill 1 is pretty useful. But overall, I'd say he's just a lesser version of Index Dawn in terms of clashing and damage. But he's still really good. I recommend picking him up if you don't have him already. Releasing alongside Renclair, we have Lamp Gregor. Now, Lamp Gregor is an interesting character where he serves a very specific purpose. Lamp Gregor is really good, but he's also really niche at the same time. But personally, I put him above Ujat Otis in A tier. The thing about Lamp Gregor is he always clashes last because of his unique mechanic, and that makes him really useful for the middle team. If he's really helpful for Railway and Refractro. His high coin count on skill 2 and 3 can be useful for Butterfly, and his syncing is pretty good. Alright, next we have Kira Mael. And honestly, I'm going to put her next to Lamp Gregor. On her own, she isn't the best character, but being a core member of the middle team is one of her reasons why she is this good. Being able to use her skill 3 every single turn for free is just absolutely insane, and the amount of damage she just does on her own team is just crazy. But that goes to show she cannot really stand on her own, and she is just meant to be used with the middle team. It's blatantly obvious. Outside of the middle team, I'd say she's weaker than the other apprentices, but with the middle team, she might be slightly stronger than all of them. So I'm going to put her right behind the other apprentices just because not everyone has access to a middle team, but with the middle team, I put her easily above. Alright, moving on, we have our first nurse father here. the Index Nurse Father Eong. And we're going to have our first S tier character here. What does there need to be said about this character that already hasn't been said already? Insane damage, stagger guard, evade, a nuke that rolls like an ego. This character has everything. Well, almost everything. Unfortunately, Eong is one of the weaker Nurse Fathers due to the fact he offers little to no utility with his skills. He's a very selfish unit. He suffers just like the other index characters from the fact that he's just a cosmetic sinking unit. Although his poise conditionals are really easy to get. Using Eero on a staggered enemy while using Furiosa Replica is basically an instant win button, and there's no denying that. The extra clash power on prescripts is pretty cool. Other than that, he's just a very good generalist ID who doesn't really have a core place on any team, and that's why he isn't the best Nurse Father. Moving on, we have LCE Greor. And where I'm going to put him is I'm going to be putting him in B tier. Let me explain. LCE Greor, he's an interesting case because he is a really good unit in the sense where like he does his job. He's a support charge unit where he supports other charge units. But in a season where there isn't any charge units that released and the one that did isn't very good, it's kind of a problem. I mean, you can make the case where the Nurse Father Hong Lu and Faust from the Ring can be used with this guy, but I wouldn't advise it because they have two different statuses, that being he does rupture and the Ring does bleed. So you probably don't want to run him there. He suffers from the exact opposite of Index Nurse Father Eong's problem, is that he's a support unit with no characters to support. His value would increase over time as they release more good charge units, but right now, he's iffy. Alright, moving on to the Ring IDs. Now, they are very strong IDs, so I'm going to rate them really high. For Faust specifically, I'm going to put her at the top of A, and for Hong Lu, I'm going to put him above Index Eong. What is there to say about what's already been said? These guys are count machines and they enable bleed so hard for the rest of the Ring team. They do so much damage and their conditionals are so easy to maintain with their bleed count. But due to time's sake, I'm not going to fully explain their kit, but they are exceptional in their field. Alright, now we have Ricardo Heathcliff. And I'm going to put him right in front of Kiramel. Another character that we don't need to go further into, his insane support for the middle is absolutely incredible. This guy is an absolute must pick up if you're running middle, and he just offers so much utility, and for that reason I'm putting him where he is. Alright, next up, we have the Ring duo from the Intervallo. Okay, first up we have Mercel. I'm going to put Mercel underneath Greor in B tier, and I'm going to put Roja in top of A. Both incredible characters being able to send out a ton of bleed count with the occasional sinking. Both do incredibly well on their respective team. Roja is definitely better, however where they differentiate is where Roja applies the multicolored blue, while Mercel does not. So she turns the Ring team into a pseudo sinking team, being able to do quite some good SP damage while also doing insane bleed count. Very good units. Alright, now we're at the cream de la crop, the Capstone ID, House of Spiders Ryoshu. And do we even need to say anything? Next we have the monster, and you already know where she's going. This character is just unbelievable. So much damage, so much support. He is the reason why middle is one of the best teams in the game, and I don't think I need to say more than that. Her sheer damage is probably better than Reinsong's, and overall this unit is just like untouchable 9 times out of 10. Now we have the two IDs that released during the Monastic experience. Problem with Hong Lu is that there's always just better options for if you're going to run him on a bleed or a poise team. If you're running on bleed, you're going to use Ring, and if you run him on poise, you're going to run full stop. So there's really no reason to use this guy. So I'm going to put him in D tier. I'm going to put him in C tier. And I'm going to put Engdu Ishmael in above Apprentice Faust. The dumb duo, everyone's favorite WAPP bait. Now Heathcliff, he's just there to serve as Tremor Scorch supports for the rest of the team. So for that, I'm going to put him in front of Ring Salt. And for Valentina, I'm going to put her in front of Hong Lu. Alright, it's been a day later and I made some changes to the tier list. Maybe for better or for worse. But this is how I think it should be. And for the final character, everyone's favorites. And honestly, I'll put him right here. Actually, no, I'll put him right here. His conditionals are not nearly as bad as everyone says. His rupture count is for the most part neutral. If anything, he could be pretty good because his dimensional rifts can start a stack next turn. Well, there it is, my friends. This is my season 7 tier list. And remember, tier lists are subjective. They might be different for anyone else. But this is what I personally think, and if you disagree, that is okay. That is your opinion. This is my opinion. If you did find this video useful or you just enjoyed it, make sure to hit like and subscribe and join the Discord so you can have fun. And we'll see you next time.